everybody, Earl at thelogbook.com, back for more Voyages of Shelf Discovery, back with the floaty robot buddies from the black hole. Just quite simply some of my favorite robots ever put on film. Now, in our previous video, we covered the various iterations of these characters from a 1979 Disney sci-fi movie, from the Mego figures that came out alongside the movie in '79 to much more recent ones that have come along in the past 10 years and are wonderfully detailed. But now we have yet another set of these, and just eyeballing them, I was thinking, okay, these are probably about the same size as the original Mego figures from '79. Well, let's find out. And let's actually open up Vincent here, take a good look at him before we take that wonderful packaging apart. Again, I feel like somebody with a lot of love for the IP was responsible for creating this packaging, because they totally could have done just a standard rectangular backing card on these, and they did not. It did them as die-cut shapes of the characters, and so it just felt like a little bit of a present from someone else who loves this movie. And I know the black hole has taken a lot of drubbing over the years for its script, for its effects, and so on, and yet I really think you kind of had to have been, that generation that had just gotten, okay, here we have the tray is there's kind of a double tray. The smaller tray contains a translucent hexagonal base that will form part of the stand that helps the robots to hover like they did in the movie. And it was kind of frustrating because the translucent support that actually connects the robot to the stand, that was kind of tricky to get out because there was not one but two little pieces of tape on there. And it seemed like it took me a good long time to get that support out of the package, because I did not want to bend and certainly did not want to break it. So it took a wee bit of work, and I'm sorry about that. There's a lot of stuff to love about this movie, although I think it almost is a case where you had to be of that generation that had just seen Star Wars, the original Star Wars, just a couple of years before. And at this time, the Star Wars franchise consisted of that first movie and the holiday special. And the Marvel comics. Let's not leave out the Marvel comics. Very nice detail going on here. Very nicely proportioned. Very good sculpt. Very good sculpt. And you just connect that stand to the bottom of the figure. And there you go. We have the original Mego figure there for comparison. Looks like I was ahead of the curve, customizing my original Vincent so that he had the silver screen, because the reaction figure has the silver screen. But you will notice they are not the same scale. They're close. They are close, but the new Vincent figure from Super 7, the reaction figure, is not 1/18 scale like these Mego figures were, which they were the Mego figures were more or less in the same scale as Mego's Buck Rogers and Star Trek The Motion Picture figures, and they were approximately 1/18 scale. They were very, very compatible with any and all things Star Wars at the time. Let's open old Bob. Last call before we break him out of the bubble. and old Bob will be new again. What I love about the black hole is it was kind of part of that rush of discovering other sci-fi in the immediate wake of becoming a Star Wars addict, which a lot of kids of my generation did that in the late 70s. You know, if you were in your single digits in the late 70s, you got swept up in this, and in the absence of Star Wars being a proper franchise yet, you had all these other things to discover, like the black hole, or the first Star Trek movie, or, you know, heaven help you, maybe you were desperate enough to watch Star Crash. But then in 1980, that window closes, The Empire Strikes Back arrives, and then Star Wars is now a proper franchise because the ending of that movie made it very clear there was more to come. But very nicely detailed. The thing about Bob with that arm sticking out, which is very accurate to the character as portrayed on film, I was very paranoid about pulling him out of the package gently because I didn't want to break that arm. I didn't want to have a repeat of all those broken Vincent guns from the Mego line. Oh, and not a black hole, but a black cat has arrived to assist. He's assisting because that's what he does. He's helpful like that. So, again, very gingerly, trying to very gingerly remove old Bob from the package here, taking extra care because I didn't want the arm or the dangling leg to become casualties of just trying to get him out of the package. Again, wonderful detailing there. No articulation. Head doesn't turn. Arms don't move. Nothing on that figure moves. He is a statue. He has a stand, very much like Vincent, and since Bob has stood up to the black hole, we will let him stand up to the black cat and see if he meets with Mercutio's approval. Definitely meets with mine. Now, since I do not have that original European Mego old Bob, what I have him next to here is the Medicom Kubrick's Bob from around 99 or 2000. I was very surprised to do this side-by-side comparison, which drifts in and out of focus. Sorry about that. And discover that while they are just about evenly matched on all that wonderful detail, the reaction Bob is larger. He's a larger scale than the Medicom figure. And so I'm kind of thinking that as far as the reaction figures are concerned, Vincent and Bob are kind of like Black Series scale. They're quite a bit larger than the Mego figures, but Reaction Bob is even larger than the Medicom Bob. So this leaves us back to our Minion of Darkness here with the last figure to open, and that is Maximilian. The packaging is so extra on these. I love it. This is a case where the moment they rolled these out, I ordered 2 of each because I knew that there's going to be one set hanging and one set on display with the rest of my floaty robot buddies. Maximilian was the hardest to open. I tried really hard not to trash the backing cards on these. I'll explain why in a little bit. And it was really difficult to do that because something about the glue and the shape of the bubble made it really quite difficult to accomplish that. And again, he has a stand. Now, Maximilian's stand is different because it basically has two pegs that are part of the stand. They are molded as part of the stand, and because it has to hold both of Max's legs, because completely different form factor. Nice paint job. They attempted at the very least some kind of a wash here to bring out some of the detail. Kind of interesting. There's a well-known piece of production artwork showing Maximilian with the various tool arms, tools used for murder, the various tool arms extended like that. And so it seems like they were looking at a specific piece of pre-production art. There he's loose. There we go. Whenever they decided what the figure was going to look like. So he has one extended rotary cutter drill. The other tools are not open like that, but they're just akimbo everywhere. It's an interesting choice. And like I said, there's a very specific piece of pre-production artwork that I remember seeing that shows Maximilian like that, and it's like, okay, well, that's our reference. That's what our boy looks like. No head movement. The arms rotate, but they don't separate like which I'm not surprised to find that out at this scale, because this is, the flaps don't move, so the only articulation on this figure is the rotation of the tool arms. Now, I am holding up the Mego figure next to the reaction figure, so we have a pretty good gauge of scale. They're very similar in scale, these two. I was kind of expecting this to be the case with the other robots, but as it turns out, Maximilian is the only one where they're very close to evenly matched in scale. Again, showing the rotating arms, which is a bit weird because the character never quite looks like that in the film, just in some of the pre-production artwork. But, you know, it's not bad. I can tell you right now, it's a lot cheaper than tracking down, you know, this guy next to him that does have the rotating head and the rotating arms. So it's not a bad deal at all. So we have gone from these guys to these guys, which I think the Diamond Select figures are really they are really the choice versions of these characters. And then we have arrived at these guys courtesy of Super 7, and it's interesting at all times. It's so interesting that these characters keep getting licensed year after year after year. At one point, there was a Black Hole remake in very early pre-production. It was right after Tron Legacy came out, and they had the writer and director of Tron Legacy, Joseph Kosinski, attached to it, and then it just kind of evaporated. And now Joseph Kosinski is doing, you know, that same bang-up job of turning stuff into franchises that perhaps weren't best suited to be franchises. He was also behind Top Gun Maverick. He was behind Twisters. He got the story credit on Twisters. And so it's kind of sad we don't get to see what Joseph Kosinski could have done with the black hole. Now, if you're wondering, what the heck am I saving the backing cards from the reaction figures for? They're going in here, baby. This is from approximately 1999. This is the Black Hole Widescreen Collector's Edition 10. The VHS, my friends. But it comes with, or it came with, these reproductions of the lobby cards from 1979. All very nice. Some of them strangely cropped, but okay. And some of them just absolutely iconic moments. Like Maximilian with his head cut off. I can't account for the cropping there. The lobby cards are really neat. And there is also this is the absolute best source of information on the film. This box set was published by Anchor Bay. It was not published by Disney itself. Great interviews and background material in that booklet. That booklet is worth the weight of the whole box set in gold. There's the tape, unplayed in quite some time. Oh, there's a Disney Parks lanyard pin of Vincent. Because why not? And beneath the tray, oh, hey, look. It's the original 1979 card backs and the Mego figures. Whoa, you're not supposed to be here. This was the packaging of the original 1979 figures that I showed earlier. Collect the whole set. Those were the characters available at the time. And so the new backing cards go in with the old. The tray goes back down. The pin goes back in. Good luck to you, tape. I know you haven't been played in quite some time, but I still love you. And the lobby cards. This is my black hole stash. So, yes, I am not kidding about being a super fan of the black hole. This goes back on the shelf right next to the LP of the soundtrack and the original story record. So, there you have it, my friends. Floaty robot buddies forever. Long may they live in their various forms. Find the floaty robot buddies that are right for you. That's what I say. Me, I like collecting all of them that I can afford to get my hands on, because did it ever really get better than floating robots with the voices of Roddy McDowall and Slim Pickens? I think not. These characters, as goofy and yes, as scientifically inaccurate as a lot of the movie is, the characters, including many of the human characters, make the movie. I still recommend it to this day. Seek it out, and then if you are so inclined, having been indoctrinated into the world of floaty robot buddies, pick up the reaction figures. Seek out the Diamond Select figures. They're still out there. If you're feeling particularly bold, go look up the Mind Strike vinyl figure. But only if you want to skip a house payment, which personally I don't.